Pirates I Can Reject Everything Chapter 401 to 420. 401. Great Alabasta Development. Elbaf warriors arrive. Apu arrives in Pudora Kingdom tomorrow. Of pirates has always been what the Revolutionary Army wanted to win. But few pirates are willing to cooperate with the Revolutionary Army. Most of the pirates who go out to sea now are just for money and status. There was no one like Chris who wanted to overthrow Tenryubito's rule. But with Chris' presence, everything might change a little bit. Chris's appeal has now reached a very strong point. As long as the Chris pirates can achieve the final victory this time, their position will be more consolidated. Haku murmured, the Chris pirates are already a top-level existence after this war. There will be a lot of pirates who worship and follow Chris. I'm afraid this is also in Chris's plan. He continues to expand his influence in order to improve his appeal in the pirate world. The dragon glanced at Bartholomew Kuma and exhorted, Bear, after you arrive in the kingdom of Puduola, try to help them as much as possible. Chris is our ally, we all win and we all lose. Wherever you can contribute, don't be stingy with your own strength. The dragon's face looked a little dignified, and he said in a deep voice, I have a bad feeling. I can't say what's going on at the moment, but I always feel that it has nothing to do with Chris. For the past few days, Long has always had such a hunch. That's why, he was very worried about what was wrong with Chris. Sabo Vivi frowned and murmured, what can happen to Pudora Kingdom? They did find some helpers, but it's not enough to threaten Chris. There shouldn't be anything missing from the information we received. Saying that, Sabo looked directly at Tai Richie Erdio. The latter also nodded, and said firmly with his eyes, there won't be anything missing. On the Pudola Kingdom side, the strongest helpers they have found are Middle Camino and Luis Caccio. The strength of these two is indeed very. But to say it can be a threat to Chris, that's a scary thing. Everyone pouted, unable to feel the long breath of Long, and said lightly, anyway, just be careful. No matter what happens, it's always right to help Chris and the others. Even if there is a real crisis, I believe that Chris can save it. Bartholomew Kuma also nodded and said, Don't worry, I will do my best. Helping Chris take the kingdom of Pudora is also beneficial to our great affairs. Bartholomew Kuma Vivi paused, then said, I'm going to leave tomorrow for the kingdom of Pudora. At my speed, at this time the day after tomorrow, I can definitely reach the kingdom of Pudora. Although the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army, Baldigo, is far from the kingdom of Puduola. But Bartholomew Kuma, as a meatball fruit person, can rely on its unique elasticity to burst into an amazing speed. Although it was not as fast as Chris' repulsive force, it was definitely not slow either. Bartholomew Kuma is now starting to look forward to his new identity, Shichibukai Alliance. Kingdom of Alabasta. Kingdom of Alabasta today is nothing compared to a few years ago. Used to be a desert and desolate place has now gradually emerged many oases. Of the Alabasta Kingdom don't need to worry about water sources anymore. And with the help of the Chris Pirates branch, the economy here has also recovered a lot. Walking on the streets of Alabasta Kingdom, you can hear bursts of laughter everywhere. Chris Pirates branch, officer's office. The office, Robin and others sat scattered. Beside Robin, two new faces are sorting out some information. These are the two newest clerks hired by Robin, one is called Halisha and the other is called Luluan. For recruiting clerks must first be women. Because Robin feels that women are easier to control and more convenient. Halisha is tall, but her appearance is of the ordinary kind. And Luluan is not only a graceful figure, but also a rare beauty in appearance. Robin suddenly raised his head and asked, Halicia, is there any news during this time in Elbaf, the kingdom of giants? They're going to send some people over there, are they there yet? Halisha nodded quickly and replied, yes, the giant warrior of Elbaf, arrived here yesterday. This time Elbaf sent a total of 13 giant warriors, and the leader is called Helding. I have arranged for them to rest in a special place, and they can come to the official report tomorrow. Gentlemen, this book has broken through 400 chapters. It is really not easy. For the sake of the author's hard work, I ask you to subscribe again. It is now 234. I hope I can break through 235 tonight, and I'll have another one. I beg you all. 402. Robin's management experience is very rich, and the branch is well organized. While sorting out the documents in her hand, Halisha continued, Helding and the others seem to be very excited. And it is said that this Helding is a very powerful giant in Elbaf, the kingdom of giants. Luluan nodded and said with a sweet smile, I've heard of Hyrding before. He once had the experience of going to sea. This person's combat power is very powerful. In one hand and said lightly, with the two seniors, Blue Ogre and Red Ghost, Elbaf dare not neglect. The people they sent this time will naturally not have any problems. Nikita gently shook the wine glass in her hand and murmured, with these 13 giant warriors, the strength of our branch will be improved to a higher level. Looking at the first half of the entire Great Route, there should be no one who can threaten us. For the strength of the giant warriors, Marion and others are still very relieved. Don't look at the fact that there are only 13 giant warriors. Their combat effectiveness and deterrence are no less than an army of several thousand people. Alabasta Kingdom branch of the Chris Pirates is getting better now. Vivi sat gracefully on the sofa, holding a coffee cup in one hand, and smiled. Isho, their joining is just too timely. We Alabasta Division, now is a good time to take a big step, with these. After the giant warriors. No matter what we do in the future, we will not be too constrained. In the first half of the Great Route, if you want to make a difference, one's own strength still has to be taken out. Although this is the branch of the Chris Pirates, it bears the name of Chris. But if something really happens, the thirst cannot be quenched from afar. Robin and the others don't want to ask Chris to come back in person if anything happens. And now with the warriors of the giant clan, the overall strength of the branch will also reach a peak. Sarah's red lips were extremely gorgeous, and she said casually, in this period of time, things in the branch are on the right track. Whether it is an organization or a war, we no longer need to worry too much. Princess Vivi's head of blue hair fell over her shoulders. She blinked her big pure eyes and said, time flies so fast, before you know it, half a year has passed. It's not just the branch that is on track, Alabasta is back to normal. Now the citizens live and work in peace and contentment, and the whole country has radiated new vitality. All this, thanks to Chris. Saying that, Princess Vivi's eyes radiated a deep sense of longing. Was very grateful to Chris in her heart. If Chris hadn't come here, perhaps the kingdom of Alabasta would have disappeared completely before long. Completely replaced by the crocodile pirates. Robin's expression was very indifferent, and he turned to look at Nikita and the others. She opened her mouth and asked, how is the work of recruiting new people these days? I noticed that there are a lot of newcomers here. Robin glanced at the information that Luluan had just sorted out, which were all members of the branch who had recently joined the branch. Sarah crossed Erlang's legs and lit a cigarette in her hand. She took a light puff of her cigarette and said casually, I've recently recruited a lot of new people here. There are about 500 people in total. However, the overall strength is average, and they can do some basic defense and other tasks. Sarah herself is in charge of the basic operations of the branch, so most of the ones she selects are down-to-earth and hard-working types. Although his own strength is not very powerful, but the task explained can be completed very well. Nikita took a sip of the red wine in the glass, and said generously, the situation here is also very good. With the signboard of the Chris Pirates, there are a lot of people who come here. They are all newcomers who have just entered the Great Route, with good strength and good potential. It's just that there are not as many as Sarah's side, there are only about 100 people. Hearing this, Robin also nodded in satisfaction. She was indifferent to issue and said, "The two of you have different divisions of labor, so there will naturally be differences in the new recruits you recruit. Sarah is in charge of basic operations, so it's more important to work on numbers. You are in charge of external business, and naturally you should pay more attention to strength. As long as these people are strong, it doesn't matter if the number is small. Better lack than abuse." Robin has worked under Crocodile all the year round, so he is quite experienced in management. It comes to recruiting new people, she also has a lot of ideas. She understands more that people make the best use of their talents. "Marian, how is your situation?" Automatic subscription dropped another one. Now it is 233, and the author is crying. Not only not much, anyway. Keep dropping, alas. This is the last one today. Tomorrow morning, there are 2 more updates. The author should try his best to code words. 403. Apu is very powerful, Devil Fruit is very special. The branch is recruiting newbies again. Marian, among the newly recruited newcomers, is there anything special? Robin suddenly set his eyes on Marianne, who was painting. Sarah is more organized, so Robin arranged for her to be in charge of the basic operations of the branch. On the other hand, is bolder and has a great passion for new things. So Robin placed her in an external development position. As for Marianne, Robin made her responsible for recruiting core newcomers. Because Marianne itself is a very special existence. Although she is not a devil fruit person, she can control the emotions of others through different paints. This is a rare special skill. And Marianne's character is relatively cold, so she won't be emotional when it comes to important things. It is precisely because of this that Marianne's eyesight is often more precise. Has her own precise grasp of each person's character. While smearing color on the drawing paper, everything is normal on my side. Similarly, because the Chris Pirates brand name is too attractive, there are many people who want to join. But the quality is still uneven. I have recommended a large number of people to Sarah and Nikita. During this period of time, there are indeed some good newcomers. Marianne gently put down the paintbrush in her hand, and said lightly, "I remember there was a guy named Rams, who was very good. Shortly after going to sea, the bounty has reached 60 million Bailey, and the potential is very large. And there's a newcomer, called Pascal, who's recently made a name for himself on the Great Line. The bounty has reached 98 million Baileys, and it will break through 100 million Baileys soon." Sarah raised her eyebrows unconsciously, and said in surprise, "I've heard of this Pascal, and his strength is still very strong. It is said that he wiped out an entire pirate group by himself. I think this person can be recommended to them." Nikita also echoed and said with a smile, it is said that she is just 18 years old. He's still so young and has a huge potential for development. I think at least he can grow into a guy like Apu." And others were very satisfied with this Pascal. After listening to everyone's opinions, Robin said calmly, "Let him exercise at the branch first. After observing for a while, I will recommend it to Chris." Robin is still very cautious when recommending candidates to Chris. Last time Apu and those people were all after Chris nods himself before they set off on the road. Robin didn't want that the ones he sent to the headquarters of the Chris Pirates were mediocre. Just a few days ago, she just sent a team, to the New World to join the Chris Pirates. After Nikita mentioned Apu's name, Robin also suddenly thought of something. She glanced at Luluan and asked, "Apu, where are they now? After walking for so long, why haven't you reunited with the main force?" Robin calculated the time. Apu and the others entered the New World, and it was less than a month away. But the latest news has not been received, which makes Robin a little puzzled. Luluan quickly replied, "The newcomers who entered the New World yesterday sent back news that they had contacted Apu. Apu and the others said that they will be able to reach the kingdom of Kudora tomorrow and officially join with Captain Chris and the others." Robin's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and he suddenly lowered his voice and asked seriously, "Why did they arrive now? At their speed, it shouldn't take so long. Robin will personally review the new recruits who were recruited. So she knows everyone very well. Of EPUB's team are quite good." In Robin's expectation, EPUB and the others should have been able to join Chris and the others as early as 10 days ago. Luluan frowned slightly, shrugged and said, "EPUB said that they encountered some minor troubles along the way. So it took some time. In addition, Captain Chris and the others are fast, so it took a little more time." Princess Vivi folded her blue hair and said with a smile, "Anyway, just get there before the war starts. Chris and the others have never sent back the latest news. I don't know how they are doing." Princess Vivi said suspiciously, "The war with Kudora Kingdom should not have started yet." With a small smile on Vivi's face, Robin said, "Since there is no news, and there is no report in the newspaper, this shows that Chris and the others have not officially started a war yet. What should Chris wait for? Everyone, the automatic subscription has dropped another one. It was originally 235, and it dropped to 234. Then it dropped to 233, and today it dropped to 232, drunk. If things go on like this, where is the motivation to code words? Let's get another automatic subscription. The author has written many books, this one takes the most time, don't let me down." 404. Robin wants to expand the business of the branch and fully demonstrate her management skills and wisdom. During this time, Robin did not take the initiative to contact Chris and the others, so he did not understand the situation ahead. But big news like the Chris pirates and the battle with the Kingdom of Kudora will definitely be reported immediately. So Robin can also quickly judge that the war has not yet begun. Vivi held her delicate face gently and murmured, "I don't know when they will officially start the war. I'm really looking forward to this war. I also want to know what kind of progress the squad leader and the others have made after such a long time. Last time in the Kingdom of Alabasta, the squad leaders worked together to deal with Crocodile, but they were still not opponents. It's been such a long time, and Princess Vivi is very curious about their strength." Nikita shook the glass gently, and said with a smile, "They have encountered many battles, and their strength must have improved greatly. I believe that this time the battle with Kudora Kingdom will be brilliant. We should be able to see their news in the newspapers soon." Sarah snuffed out the cigarette in her hand, and said lightly, "Compared to the squad leaders, I look forward to Chris' battle more. So far, I've only seen Chris shoot once. That was before, when he beat Crocodile with one move. Just once, it's very unsatisfactory. Sarah knows that Chris is very powerful, but unfortunately, she has not seen Chris real fight. So she is very much looking forward to Chris being able to show more of his means in this battle." Thinking of that scene, Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Blinked her big eyes and said, "Don't forget Nami and the others. Nami and the others will definitely take action in such an important battle this time. I heard that they basically have the ability of Devil Fruit now, and their strength has skyrocketed. I'm really looking forward to their fight." Mary Ann picked up the paintbrush and muttered, "I just don't know if there will be a newspaper office, dare to come to the scene, live broadcast. In this way, we can see the scene of their battle." Robin leaned on the chair and smiled lightly, "This is not very clear. I want to do a live broadcast. It still takes a lot of courage. Few institutions have such power other than the world government. Over the world has never happened before in history." Mary Ann and the others couldn't help but have some expectations at this time, and of course they wanted to see Chris and the others fighting with their own eyes. Robin spread his hands casually and said with a smile, "These things are no longer something we need to consider. No matter what. Whether we can see this battle with our own eyes, I believe that the final result will not change. Chris and the others must be able to successfully capture the Kingdom of Kudora and establish a country belonging to our Chris pirates in the New World." Vivi's azure blue eyes flashed with waves, and Vivi said with a smile, "This day is finally coming. Looks like we have to keep trying. Otherwise, it will be impossible to keep up with Chris and the others. For everyone on the branch side, they are feeling some pressure at this moment. The Chris pirates are getting better and better, there is no reason for the Alabasta Kingdom branch to hold back. Robin nodded and said lightly, the Kingdom of Alabasta is only in the recovery stage, and I want to really get on the right track. And really become. If you become rich and strong, you still need to do a lot of things. Not only to constantly recruit new people, but more importantly to expand our business. So if our branch wants to develop further, we need to do more things. For the development of the Alabasta Kingdom branch, Robin has already had his own plans in mind. Robin has been grateful to Chris since Chris appointed her as the branch agent. And Chris not only took her in, but also sheltered Robin all the time. Let Robin not have to worry, the world governments hunt for her. And more importantly, Chris was able to give Robin what he wanted to do, translate history. All of this is something that Robin never dared to imagine before. It is precisely for these reasons that Robin now fully recognizes Chris. She really hopes to help Chris run and manage the Alabasta branch. She is also ready to give everything for Chris. Robin said calmly, there are some things that I have been thinking about for a long time. Now that we've got everything sorted out here, it's time to expand some business. There should be another chapter in the evening, and the author does his best to code. More automatic subscription. Now it is 233. Can it be restored to 235? Everyone, raise your hands, and another automatic subscription. 405. Robin proposes to monopolize the medical industry and gather a lot of money for the branch. For the idea proposed by Robin, Nikita and others immediately became interested. Their eyes lit up one by one, and their expressions were full of curiosity. Vivi lifted her delicate chin lightly, and asked curiously, Robin, you already have a detailed plan, right? Might as well say it and listen, let's discuss it together. Nikita also let out a silver bell-like laughter, and said sweetly, Robin never says anything uncertain. I think her plan must be very mature. We just need to follow her plan and go ahead and execute it. Mary Ann's drawing hand stopped and murmured, even so, we still have to listen. Everyone can work together to formulate the most perfect development plan. Robin nodded, and Vivi smiled. My plan is actually not complicated, just find a way to develop the business of our branch. Right now, we have only succeeded in force, but we don't have much financial resources. So I thought about it carefully and could open up some new markets. Sarah lit another cigarette and said casually, money is indeed a good thing. With sufficient funds, you can recruit more members. However, what business can we develop now? Sarah has always been a killer, and doesn't know anything about other things. It's okay to let her manage the management staff, but as for other ways to make money, she's out of luck. Robin whispered Isho and said confidently, I recently researched these countries near us. I found that these places have one thing in common, the medical industry is very backward. Like Whiskey Peak and Drum Kingdom, and Prehistoric Island. These all belong to a large population, but the natural environment is relatively harsh, and there are no decent medical institutions. So the mortality rate in these countries is still quite high. Princess Vivi is naturally more familiar with these things. She went on to add, not just these 3 countries, but further afield, there are many more of them. It can be said that the sea area where we are located is very lacking. Robin nodded with a smile, and said, it's the best choice for us to enter the medical field. I have already investigated, and the economic development of these countries above this sea area is okay. They can totally afford the cost of treatment. It's a good piece of fat for us. The medical industry can be regarded as an industry with huge profits. And it is impossible for people to lose the existence of medical institutions. This is why Robin is so confident about entering the medical field. Said with a blank face while smearing the color, If it is a huge profit, why is it blank? Why has no one done this kind of money-making field? And it's impossible for those in power in these countries not to find out about this problem. Since these countries have all the economic strength, why haven't they developed the medical business all the time? Marianne has always been very calm and can always see the problems at a glance. 4. Marianne's question. Others also agree very much. They all nodded in surprise. In this regard, Robin is also indifferent to Isho, and instructs Luluin to circulate a document. She said lightly, "These questions, of course, I have also considered them. So I did a very detailed investigation of these countries. The information you see is the final result of my investigation." Hearing this, Princess Vivi and the others all looked surprised. Their hearts, Vivi sighed. Robin did everything neatly and clearly. Robin continued, "Everyone knows that Whiskey Peak is a gathering place for bounty hunters. This place is frequented by pirates and bounty hunters, and battles often break out. This has also led to the fact that many people are afraid to set up their own medical institutions without authorization. They are all afraid that that day, they will be completely destroyed by the pirates. Whiskey Peak was once Crocodile's sphere of influence, and it was a mess. Although the economic development is very good, it is mixed and difficult to manage." Robin paused, then said again, "The Drum Kingdom is completely the behavior of the rulers. The ruler of the Drum Kingdom believes that ordinary people do not deserve a doctor. There, doctors are all serving the nobles, and only a few doctors dare to treat ordinary people. Robin's place by place, such as a few treasures, will generally be introduced to everyone. Has done a very detailed investigation of every place here. This kind of workability is admired by everyone. Guys, this is the last update today, and it's already 3 updates today. The new book, Marco, has not been updated yet, and the author has written a new book. Tomorrow morning, there will be 2 updates, everyone will automatically subscribe to another one, Cry. 406. Robin's heart is blackened, he wants to help Chris and control the underground world. Everyone can see from the information in your hands why the medical industry in this sea area is so backward. What we're going to do now is fill the void. In his hand and looked at Princess Vivi and others with a smile. Nikita took a sip of the red wine in her glass and laughed softly. As expected of Robin, he actually investigated in such detail. In so many countries and regions, you have investigated all the reasons. However, the reasons for these places are different, and I am afraid it is a bit complicated to do. Robin shook his head disapprovingly, and said lightly, "What you see is just a problem that appears on the surface. The problems are different in these places, but the reasons. The reason no one can build a complete medical system, it's all because they're not tough enough on their own. They are either worried about the invasion of pirates or the oppression of those in power. But we don't worry at all." Smile appeared on Princess Vivi's face, and she said, "In this sea area, anyone who dares to hit the attention of our Chris pirates doesn't exist yet. Even the rulers of those countries would never dare to attack us. The most important problem, for us, is not a problem at all." Vivi's face was flat, and she didn't pay attention to these things at all. Of the Alabasta Kingdom branch can already be achieved to the point where it dwarfs the crowd. So Princess Vivi believes that there will be no problems in entering the medical field. Marianne drew a landscape and said, "Just listen to you and enter the medical field. Anyway, Robin can handle specific things. As for me, I'll be responsible for recruiting new people. As long as anyone dares to stop our footsteps, I will directly let them see how powerful the Chris Pirates branch is." Marianne looked indifferent and smiled disdainfully. Her current subordinates have gathered a lot of newcomers from the pirate world. These guys get together and fight. It is not to be underestimated. Robin stroked his hair and muttered, "Besides entering the domain, I have some ideas. Everyone should also be able to feel that the situation in the sea is changing. Between the various countries, secret military stockpile work has begun. This may also be an excellent opportunity for us. Sarah raised her eyebrows in surprise and said, Robin, what do you mean? Do arms business. This is the most profitable way in the underground world. Robin was noncommittal, saying, the arms business is very profitable and helps us get a lot of money very quickly. With the current strength of our Chris Pirates branch, we are fully capable of controlling the underground world in this sea area. As long as we grasp the lifeline of arms trading, we are also equivalent to indirectly grasping the entire sea area. On Robin's face unconsciously. What she pursues is not just money interests. Medical business and arms business are the two lifelines of today's world. Robin continued, Chris and the others have turned the world upside down and created a dynasty belonging to the Chris Pirates. Although we are not in the new world, we can also contribute. Controlling this sea area is of great significance to the Chris Pirates. Vivi's face was full of shock, and she was speechless for a while. That everything Robin thought was so bold. Vivi never thought that Robin would actually want the Chris Pirates branch to be the king in this sea area, completely king. Marianne, with a lollipop in his mouth, he said, I agree with Robin on this idea. It is very important to us that we can make money and take the opportunity to control other countries or regions. Of course, if possible, I suggest including the nearby waters as well. Really bigger and stronger. Isho at Marianne and said, I've thought about that too. But if you can't get fat in one bite, don't worry so much. It will be easier for us to fully grasp this sea area first, and then we want to reach out to the nearby sea area. Sarah let out a few smoke rings and muttered, I don't have any opinion either. We, the Chris Pirates branch, have no reason to be too low-key. It's also time to let these people nearby know that our branch should not be underestimated. Seeing this, Nikita naturally nodded and said, I don't have any more opinions. With such a good way of arms business, there is no reason not to do it. Robin nodded, then set his eyes on Princess Vivi. There are 2 changes in the morning and 1 more in the evening. We guarantee 3 changes today. The clone book is also updated 3 times a day. Marco's book is about 1 update a day. At least 7 chapters should be updated every day. The author is really too tired. Encourage you, and give the author another automatic subscription. 407. Princess Vivi is no longer kind, and her heart is blackened for Chris. Vivi is, after all, the princess of the kingdom of Alabasta. She came from a noble family, so many times, her thoughts will be different. Arms trading is an illegal business. Vivi may not be able to agree. But unexpectedly, Princess Vivi smiled directly and said, I support Robin's plan. As long as I can help Chris, I don't have any opinion. Making Alabasta Kingdom branch better, that's my job too, isn't it? Robin was also a little surprised by Princess Vivi's attitude. She didn't expect Princess Vivi to agree so easily. In Robin's original plan, how to convince Princess Vivi, she was already ready. But who would have thought that all of this would be useless? A ray of light flashed in Princess Vivi's beautiful eyes, and then she said, it's not just the arms business. I think the original Baroque Works operation was very successful. Casinos are also a lucrative industry. Words came out. Robin, Marianne and others were stunned for a moment. They are all very aware of the harm that the Baroque Works room has brought to the Kingdom of Alabasta. If it weren't for the appearance of Chris, the Kingdom of Alabasta would still be living in dire straits. Therefore, Princess Vivi should hate the Baroque Works room very much. Words like that just now should never come out of Princess Vivi's mouth. Seeing the blank expressions of Robin and the others, Princess Vivi couldn't help but laugh. She smiled faintly. Now the Baroque Works room has been wiped out by Chris. Alabasta Kingdom has also officially embarked on the road of revival under our leadership. I'm very satisfied. Vivi's eyes were full of sincere emotion. She continued, To be honest, opening a casino is indeed a very profitable way. The casino in the Kingdom of Alabasta, many people have come here over the years. With such a foundation, there is no reason why we should not use it. Robin's expression returned to indifference, nodded and said, I did think about the casino. However, casinos only make money. If you only rely on casinos, you will not benefit much. Vivi smiled oddly and said directly, build an entertainment center. Based on the casino, on this sea area, an entertainment center belonging to our Chris Pirates branch is established. I've read about Dressrosa's operations, and they're just attracting a lot of people with the entertainment center. We can do it too. The current Princess Vivi is no longer the previous Princess Vivi. What she is thinking about now is more about Chris. As long as it can benefit the development of the Chris Pirates, it will benefit Chris' career. Princess Vivi is very attentive now, no matter what. Whether these things are illegal or not, she is willing to do them. Her changes were seen by Robin and others. Halisha held the folder in her arms and said, it takes a long time to build an entertainment center. I think we can start with the medical field and arms business, and gradually expand the influence of our branch. When we have sufficient funds and human resources, we can open an entertainment center in the best place in this sea area. Luluan also nodded and said, now that the Alabasta Kingdom is in the revival stage, it is not suitable to reopen the casino. It should be better to have a casino, etc. somewhere else. Robin is quite satisfied with the opinions of these two people. She also glanced at Princess Vivi and said, Alabasta Kingdom is the center of our base, and it must not be an entertainment center. We're going to build the Kingdom of Alabasta into a strong nation, both economically and militarily. Let this place become our greatest reliance at any time. Robin is also very considerate of Princess Vivi's feelings. Let these illegal activities not appear in the territory of Alabasta Kingdom. This is the one principle that Robin came up with. All the plans, the most fundamental principle. Mary Ann looked at the orderly scene outside the window and said with a smile, I think Whiskey Peak is a good choice. There is still a borderless land, we can directly occupy it. I believe that with our strength, no one dares to disagree. Whiskey Peak is a place where pirates often gather. The flow of people is large enough, and its own infrastructure is also perfect. It fits all the criteria for opening an entertainment center. Hearing this, Robin and the others all brightened up. Nikita said with a smile, this is indeed a good place. And with our strength, even if a pirate makes trouble, we can easily settle it. This is the second update, it will not be updated in the morning, and it will be updated in the evening. Automatic subscription is still 233, everyone will come again, thank you. The author has gone to the copy, and the 3 openings are tiring. 408. Robin is still so wise, worthy of being a survivor of O'Hara, a proper scholar. And others all agreed with Marian's proposal. Of Whiskey Peak are now the most suitable location. Of the Alabasta Kingdom branch of the Chris Pirates is something that never needs to be considered. There were 2 seniors, Blue Ogre and Red Ghost, sitting here before. Now there are giant warriors headed by Helding, as well as all the tyrants recruited since this time. Of the Alabasta Kingdom branch of the Chris Pirates is no less than that of a large pirate group. Even said that it is stronger than many pirate groups. Robin sat on the stool elegantly, and said lightly, that's the decision, the location of the entertainment center. It's set at Whiskey Peak. That way, we can move forward now. Robin glanced at the well-organized information on the table, and said casually, my plan now is to occupy the Whiskey Peak first. We can send 6 giant warriors and 200 guards, led by Sarah, to Whiskey Peak. Once the Whiskey Peak is completely captured, all the existing casinos in the Alabasta Kingdom can be transferred there. After that, we can build an entertainment center system bit by bit according to the plan. Robin's plans for the future are well organized and analytical. Vivi and the others are all nodding, and there is no need to question Robin's plan at all. Robin looked around and continued, then let's make sure we're doing the medical, munitions, and entertainment center business at the same time. Three-pronged approach, and strive to establish our business empire on this sea area in the shortest possible time. When speaking, Robin's always calm face is now exuding confidence and high spirits. Princess Vivi smiled Isho, and said softly, I will report to the father and let the whole kingdom support our plan. I believe that with the help of the entire Alabasta kingdom, we will save a lot of time and energy. Mary Ann watched her paintings intently, and said casually, I will contact these elites and make them ready. Once our plan encounters any numbness in the process of advancing, we can easily solve it. Mary Ann is still very confident in the talents she has recruited. She believes that in the current sea area, there is no existence that can match them. With a smile on her face, Nikita rejoiced, it won't be long before we can completely surpass the former Baroque Works room. The branch of the Alabasta Kingdom of the Chris Pirates will also become the strongest force in this sea area. Sarah took a hard puff of her cigarette and said, just replacing the Baroque Works room, I'm afraid it's not enough. We are a branch of the Chris Pirates, and the goal can be appropriately seen in the longer term. For example, to dominate the first half of the entire Great Route. In Sarah's eyes, there is a desire full of ambition. For the idea of Sarah, everyone felt bold. After all, dominating the first half of the Great Route has never been done before. For Emperor Pirates, or the Cavalry Pirates, etc. Their eyes are on the New World. And most of the remaining in the first half of the Great Route are some existences with poor strength. They want to dominate here, and the difficulty is comparable to the sky. Robin's eyes suddenly lit up, and he smiled faintly, I really haven't thought about dominating the first half of the Great Route. However, with our strength and background, it is not entirely impossible to realize this wish. In terms of combat strength, we don't need to worry at all. Now our Chris Pirates branch is full of talents and powerful. Even if we encounter problems that cannot be solved, there is still Chris to back us up. Robin has never had a headache when it comes to competing for hard power. Chris' existence is the most powerful guarantee. Chris has the speed against the sky and can support at any time. Princess Vivi frowned and said softly, I think at this stage, we should still seek stability. To dominate the first half of the Great Route, this is a huge project, and the layout is quite large. But in the short term, we can still do it by reaching out to several nearby sea areas. With our human and material resources, it should be no problem to cover 3 or 434 sea areas. Newcomer, Luluan smiled and said, the most important thing is that we have Chris as our support. In addition to Chris's great strength, the identity of his King Shichibukai is also very important to us. Such an identity is exactly a passport. Everyone, this is the third update, today's update, that's it. Least 3 changes a day, this is the situation of this book. As for more, I'm afraid I can't do it, I cry with laughter. Gentlemen, it's not easy for the author to bacteria, let's subscribe again, and beg. 409. Shichibukai's identity is a gold medal to avoid death, and he can do a lot of business. Luluan finished her work and sat gracefully on the seat next to her. She said with bright eyes, the reason why Crocodile dares to occupy the kingdom of Alabasta for a long time is because of the identity of the King Shichibukai. As long as you become King Shichibukai, you have a lot of privileges. The world's governments turn a blind eye to any arms business or casino business we do. Even if we reach out to other countries, as long as it's not too much, they won't care. The various benefits that can be brought about by the identity of the king, Shichibukai. Even if you do something illegal, you will not be prosecuted, but it is a reasonable thing. Halisha also sat quietly by the side, and said indifferently, the identity of the king, Shichibukai, is indeed very useful. In the first half of the Great Route, Shichibukai under the king still has a considerable deterrent effect. We don't care. want to do, whatever forces they encounter, they all have to be afraid of us. This is a huge guarantee for our arms trade and casino business. Mary Ann took out a new canvas and said with a smile, "This is where Chris is the smartest." Becoming King Shichibukai was definitely his most correct decision. You can guarantee that you will not be hunted down by the world government, and you can enjoy a lot of privileges. And with the name of Shichibukai under the king, it can also deter other pirates. Such a multi-purpose thing, it is impossible to find a second one. Vivi's delicate face, a small smile appeared. Chris has always been so wise. He may be the smartest and most transparent person in this sea. It seems that nothing has escaped Chris's control. Robin chuckled and said casually, "It's natural. Otherwise, Chris wouldn't have achieved what he is now. Before the age of 20, you will attract the world's attention and become the top man in the world. And having Marine cooperate to attack a country has never been done before Chris. Chris's wisdom and strength are things that Luo has never questioned. It is precisely because of these that they worship Chris more and more. That everything I do now is consciously thinking of Chris. Chris has completely become a godlike existence in his heart. Robin and others can do their best for Chris at all costs and die." Sarah lightly snuffed out the cigarette butts, and said lightly, "The matter of dominating the first half of the Great Route can be slowed down. But to radiate our business to the world, I think it is imperative. Compared to the Great Route, the strength in the Four Seas is weaker. Just the name Shichibukai, the king, is enough to intimidate a lot of people. The oil and water in the Four Seas are richer than imagined." Hearing this, a familiar smile appeared on Robin's face. She said confidently, "I have already prepared for this matter. I have already sent some people to explore the way in the Four Seas first. When our business spreads out, we can enter at any time there." After hearing Robin's words, Princess Vivi and others were amazed. In their hearts, they admire Robin more and more. Possessing extraordinary wisdom and means, dealing with things is always meticulous and never sloppy. The Chris Pirates branch is led by Robin, and Princess Vivi and others feel very at ease. Robin glanced at the crowd and said lightly, "If we want to complete our plan, we must continue to recruit new people. As the coverage of our business expands, we will need more manpower and material resources. In terms of manpower, we must not fail to keep up with the pace of branch development." Sarah nodded confidently immediately, patted her chest and assured, "You can rest assured about this. I am recruiting new people here, but I have never let up for a moment. Even at this time, my people are still constantly screening. At our branch, we don't need to worry about manpower at all." Nikita also had a smile on her face, and she spread her hands and said, "There is a golden signboard of the Chris Pirates. Are we worried that no one will come over? Now Chris's reputation is getting bigger and bigger, and more people come here. In the first half of the Great Route, some people are rushing to join our branch." Seeing the confident and helpless appearances of Sarah, Nikita and the others, Robin also calmly issued. She just felt at this moment, what is the trouble of happiness? Robin packed up his expression and continued, "It's time to report the situation to the headquarters. Today is still 3 updates, and all the updates will be completed on the conference, and will not be delayed until the afternoon and evening. Avatar is also 3 shifts, which will be completed in the morning, and Marco's 1 shift, which will be written in the evening. Auto-subscribe for another one. Now it is 23. Strive to break through 235, beg. 410. Robin calls Chris to report on the branch. Apu is sure to arrive in Pudora Kingdom tomorrow. Whether it's entering the medical field or arms business, or opening a casino-centric entertainment world. These are the ideas and plans of Robin et al. Although Robin has done a lot of work for these things. But whether it can be put into practice or not, it still needs Chris's personal nod. Anyway, this is the branch of the Chris Pirates. Their every move may have a certain impact on Chris. So no matter what kind of development plan there is, Robin will ask Chris for instructions in advance. After making sure that it is correct, Robin can also let go of his hands and feet to do it. Robin picked up the phone bug on the desk and directly dialed the general phone bug that contacted Chris. Kudora Kingdom C, Chris. There is an aura of iron blood everywhere on the Chris. On the Chris, there are people who are practicing cultivation everywhere. Everyone is making last-minute preparations for the upcoming war. In the training room, Chris is still practicing day after day. And with Chris practicing together, there are Makino and Kaya and others. Bumble, 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 bumble. Just then, a phone bug in front of Bakura suddenly rang. Bakura took a closer look, raised his eyebrows and said, "It's the call from the Alabasta branch. Robin hasn't called in a long time. I suddenly called at this time. Could it be that something happened at the branch?" Reiju's slender legs rested on the ground lightly, and his red lips slightly lifted. Some time ago, Robin sent a team of newcomers. For so long, the new team led by EPUB has not contacted us. I think Robin called to report this. As expected, EPUB and the others should join us soon. On Nami's delicate face, Vivi showed a slight smile. It's definitely not just about this. Robin knows that we are on the side of Kudola Kingdom, and she won't bother us because of these little things. I think there must be a situation in the branch. Betty lit a cigarette at will, and said indifferently, "Now we all know that our Chris pirates are at war with the kingdom of Kudora. So at this very sensitive time, it is inevitable that some people will have some crooked thoughts. Is probably some trouble with the Alabasta Kingdom branch." Thinking of this, Bakura quickly answered the phone. She asked directly, "Robin, it's me, Bakura. You called, is there something wrong with the branch?" Hearing a trace of anxiety in Bakura's tone, Robin also smiled and shook his head. She smiled and replied, "Bakura, you don't have to worry. 13 giant warriors have just arrived at the branch, and our overall strength has been improved again. In the first half of the Great Route, basically no one can threaten us. And I have a special emergency phone bug for talking to Chris. If there is an emergency, I will contact Chris immediately. Of the branch has always been guaranteed to the greatest extent. Directly contacting Chris's emergency number is Chris's greatest guarantee for Robin and others." Hearing this, Bakura also felt relieved. She could hear that Robin's tone was quite relaxed. Bakura said with a smile, "You called at this time, we all thought something happened to the branch. But we're relieved to hear you say it's fine. You're calling this time, you should have other things to say." Robin said, "You should still remember EPUB and the others. In the original plan, he should have reunited with the main force 10 days ago. But there were some troubles in the middle, and some time was delayed. We have already made contact, and tomorrow they will be able to arrive at Kudora Kingdom smoothly. Finally, I didn't miss the business." Hearing this, Bakura, Reiju and the others also looked at each other. They guessed it. That's right. Corona flew to Bakura's side at this moment, and said with a smile, "EPUB, these guys are finally here. Chris has already decided that the official war with the Kingdom of Kudora will take place the day after tomorrow. EPUB, they won't miss this battle." Nami also had 2 small dimples on her face, and said with a smile, "We are looking forward to EPUB and the others. This war with Kudora Kingdom is the best test of the strength of EPUB and others. Hope EPUB they won't let us down." Other side of the phone, Marianne stopped the brush in her hand and said, "Don't worry. I like people, and I will not disappoint you." Robin shook his head with a smile, and then said, "Besides EPUB's news, I have one more thing to report. Gentlemen, this is the second update, and there will be another update later. Not much to say, the author continues to code words. Remember to subscribe to another one automatically, everyone." 411. Robin's business model, to monopolize the first half of the Great Waterway. All the women were shocked and admired. Robin has always been outspoken and said directly, "Actually, the main purpose of my contact with the headquarters this time is for this matter. I've been planning this privately for a long time, and I think it's time to put it into action." Baccarat gathered his hair and asked curiously, "What's the matter?" "Now that Chris is cultivating, you tell us first, and I will report it to Chris in person." Robin nodded lightly, and said word by word, "Our branch has just been discussed internally. Now all kinds of things in the branch are on the right track. So it is also time to appropriately expand the business of the branch. The result of our discussions is that we want to center on the Kingdom of Alabasta. Around the surrounding waters, we will thoroughly enter the medical field and arms trading. In addition to this, we also intend to pick up the main business of Baroque Works, a casino-based entertainment center. The expansion of these businesses can bring huge benefits to our Chris pirates." Hearing this, Betty flicked the ash and asked, "These businesses can indeed bring huge profits. But opportunities like this shouldn't be the only ones you can think of. Hasn't anyone done these things before?" Robin shook his head and replied indifferently, "Before us, whether it was medical treatment or arms business, people here were all petty. They have almost no such ability and absolute strength, and become bigger and stronger. Now that the fighting force on the branch is well stocked, we don't need to worry about anyone's obstruction." It was after a detailed investigation that we made our final decision. Reju's beautiful eyes and Vivi circulated, and he said with a chuckle, "Robin, do you have any plans for the expansion of these businesses? I have been exposed to these things when I was at Germa 66. They look very simple, but in practice, they are very complicated. We haven't entered the local industry before, so it's not easy to get involved in these businesses. In this world, every industry has its size. Especially when they are outside the law, all they do are illegal activities. Of this industry that the access rules for the underground world are quite harsh. If there is no internal senior to lead the way, it is difficult to do these things. Because, for his own safety, no one will buy it." Robin took the cup of coffee that Luluan handed over and took a sip. There was a touch of disdain in her eyes, and she said casually, "Don't worry, it's just an underground world, it can't help me. Aside from Chris's deterrent power, I still have the contacts left by Crocodile in my hands. I know every rule of the underground world very thoroughly. I also know some people in the underground world, so our business will not be excluded by them." Before working under Crocodile, Robin was not idle for a moment. She was already familiar with these things. Robin put down the coffee cup gently, and continued, "I have already prepared everything here. In several nearby sea areas, our people have already been placed. They are already paving the way for us to start our business in advance, and as long as the headquarters agrees, the work can be started immediately. I am confident that within 3 months, we will completely establish our own underground network of the Chris Pirates. Correspondingly, our medical business will also be carried out simultaneously in every area of this sea area." Robin suddenly paused, with a slightly cold smile on his face. "In less than half a year, our business will be able to cover the first half of the entire Great Route. At that time, you can build a business empire belonging to the Chris Pirates." Hearing this, Baccarat and others were all taken aback. They all stared wide-eyed, making no secret of their surprise. Nami couldn't help but murmured, "Robin, is your plan so detailed? Not only have the routes to be expanded have been clearly considered, but also a deeper level has been thought of." Perona also opened a small mouth in surprise, and couldn't help sighing, covering the first half of the entire Great Route. What a huge business empire this must be. "Robin, you are too smart." Baccarat opened his mouth and said softly, "It seems that you have already made all the preliminary preparations. I have to say, Robin, your work ability is simply outstanding. I finally understand why Chris is so relieved. Leave the branch to you alone. Guys, this is the third update, no surprise, that's it for today's update. Avatar is also 3 shifts, and the next step is to write Marco's book. See you tomorrow, everyone. You don't have to wait today. Don't forget to subscribe automatically. 412. Hancock is God's choice and also admires Robin's management skills. To be honest, at the beginning, Baccarat had some concerns about the management of the branch. One hand, Robin was recruited from Crocodile after all. She couldn't completely believe Robin's loyalty to Chris. Other hand, Robin is a female class after all, and his combat strength is not very good. So Baccarat is also worried, will she be able to control the thorns of her subordinates? But now, Baccarat has great admiration for Robin's management skills. She had to admit that, in her own words, she would definitely not be able to do as well as Robin. Baccarat's expression was full of amazement, and said, "Robin, you are not only smart and capable, but also full of wisdom. More importantly, you are more courageous and dare to think. Building a business empire in the first half of the Great Route is something we can't even imagine." But that must be in Chris's mind. Hancock has been sitting quietly, with a smile on his face, listening to the conversation between Robin and Baccarat. This is the first time Hancock has heard of Robin's existence. She didn't even know that before, there is such a branch of the Chris Pirates. But today, Hancock took the name Robin deeply in his heart. She had never seen a woman with such excellent management skills as Robin. At this moment, Hancock couldn't help feeling a little pressure. Her beautiful eyes rolled, and she said generously, "This is the first time I have heard of Robin, and the first time I have heard her voice. I have to say, the first time we met, it made people feel so amazing. Robin, I'm looking forward to meeting you." Robin was also surprised when he heard this. She smiled a little excitedly. "Is it Hancock? I have admired you for a long time. You are both beautiful and powerful. You are the woman we want to be." Hearing that Robin and Hancock started to praise each other, Bonnie shook his head with a tut. Bonnie looked at it oddly, then said to the phone, "Don't be so polite, the two of you. Hancock is the chosen daughter. She has both strength and beauty. This is known in the world. But Robin, you are just as good. One person can support a branch. And there is a clear plan for the development of the branch. We all admire you very much." Betty also spit out a few breaths of smoke at will, and said lightly, "So, Chris is more discerning than us. I just met Robin in Alabasta Kingdom at first. He dared to leave the Alabasta Kingdom branch of the Chris Pirates to Robin alone. This shows that Chris has seen Robin's management skills since then. Alvita just finished practicing today and was sitting on the sofa beside him. Legs crossed, she casually praised, 'With wisdom and courage, this is an excellent manager. The Kingdom of Alabasta and our branch of the Chris Pirates can get on the right track in such a short period of time.' Most of the credit goes to Robin." Queen Sweetheart took a sip of the red wine and smiled sweetly. Since Robin took the helm of the operation branch, there has been constant good news. Not only has the Kingdom of Alabasta been completely revitalized, but it has also absorbed a lot of talents for our Chris Pirates. The complexity of this, I'm afraid I'd already back down. But Robin not only persevered, but also took the branch to a higher level. Few of us can match this ability. That Queen Sweetheart admires the most. One is, like Hancock, who is beautiful and powerful. The other is, a strong woman like Robin. She believes that a strong woman like Robin is more able to control her own destiny. The phone, Princess Vivi smiled gracefully and said softly, "Robin is the first woman I admire. You all don't know, Robin looks quite charming at work. She has amazing control over everything." Luluan also nodded, and smiled in agreement. "That's right. Robin is decisive and never sloppy when it comes to handling his work. And she has her own ideas and a strong drive for action. We all feel very relaxed working under Robin." Sarah lit a cigarette again and said lightly, "If it wasn't for Robin's proposal this time, we would never have thought of expanding our business. With Robin in charge of the branch, the influence of our Chris Pirates in the first half of the Great Route will grow. Hearing everyone's praise for him, Robin couldn't help feeling a little embarrassed. She could do was scold Isho. Gentlemen, this is the first update, and there is another one in the morning. Time for the next shift is to be determined, anyway. There will be 3 shifts today, and the clone is also 3 shifts. Marco's book will strive for 2 shifts. Let's subscribe to another one automatically, or 233, please everyone. 413. All Shichibukai arrives in the kingdom of Kudora, which amazes Robin and admires Chris. Robin smiled embarrassedly and said, everyone thinks of me too much. I've only been with Crocodile for a while, so I have some management experience. I can't bear you touting me so much. With a smile on her face, Nikita curled her lips and said, we've all stayed in the Baroque Works room. Although your position is relatively high, the things you have learned are not so different. Robin, don't be humble, your talent in management is indeed top-notch. In this regard, Robin can only helplessly spread his hands. Shivivi sighed and turned to Smile and said, Baccarat, you should report this matter to Chris as soon as possible. As long as Chris nods, our branch can immediately put it into action. The current situation in the sea is turbulent, and it is a good opportunity for us to take action. By the way, while laying out the first half of the Great Route, we also plan to cover the 4 seas. After all, this matter is very involved, and we still have to listen to Chris's opinion. Hearing this, Baccarat Vivi pondered and replied generously, Don't worry, I will report to Chris soon. I'll be able to give you an answer soon. But I don't think Chris will object to your proposal. On the contrary, Chris will definitely appreciate your decision. Reju's clear eyes Vivi waved, and Isho said with a smile, Chris naturally wants to see the Chris Pirates can get better and better. And Chris himself really likes the feeling of being in control. If you can really build the business empire of the Chris Pirates in the first half of the Great Route, the various plans used on the New World side will be easier to implement. A bright smile appeared on Nami's face, and she said, it's only a matter of time before we win the kingdom of Kudora. Chris wants to build our own country based on the kingdom of Kudora. But after this war, the economy of Kudora Kingdom will definitely be greatly affected. If the branch can successfully expand the business. Enough to help here. Nami tutted twice and said with a smile, I have to say, Robin, this is so timely. This will make our plan run more smoothly. Vivi was a little curious, the battle is coming, everyone should be ready. Perona floated in the air and said with a smile, now there are cultivators everywhere on the Chris. Everyone is practicing hard and preparing for the war. Chris said that this war with Kudora Kingdom is an excellent opportunity to train troops. So everyone doesn't want to miss this opportunity. Actual combat is very important to the members of the Chris Pirates. Since the Chris Pirates went to sea, they have not experienced many battles. And every time, everyone's shot is very limited. This also leads to a lot of people who basically have not experienced too much actual combat and lack actual combat experience. And this time the big war, everyone can get a good fighting chance. Up to the squad leaders headed by Enel, down to the ordinary crew such as Crib, they all hope to seize this opportunity. The little giant Lily also said casually, not only that, we have many helpers. Apart from Hakai Mahak and Hancock who are already on board, other helpers are on their way. Now, the Shichibukai Alliance has been officially established. And this time, they will also fit together and appear in front of the world. Hearing this, Robin and the others all looked at each other, and they could see the slightest surprise in each other's eyes. The Shichibukai Alliance was officially established, and they didn't know it before. Heard the news at this moment, Robin and others were both surprised and excited. Robin chuckled and sighed, I didn't expect Chris to move so fast. It's only been so long, and the Shichibukai Alliance has already been established. I haven't seen any of them except the former King Shichibukai crocodile. Chris has brought them together in such a short period of time. Mary Ann looked at the drawing board intentionally or unintentionally, and smiled. Chris has never let us down. And with his strength and ability, it's not surprising to do all this. Of the Shichibukai alliance will surely shock the whole world. Princess Vivi looked shocked at the moment, and murmured, King Shichibukai gathered in Kudora Kingdom. It must be shocking news. You know, since the establishment of the Shichibukai system under the king. 7 of them, they almost never make public appearances together. This is the first time ever. Guys, this is the second shift, and the next shift should be at night. There are 2 shifts in the morning, and the next shift should be at night. Automatic subscription is still 233. Change, let's get another one. 414. When the branch is on the right track, Princess Vivi and Robin will go to the new world. Newcomer, Luluan, has also heard about the Shichibukai alliance. She always thought that this was just a false rumor. It was not until today that Luluan discovered that the Shichibukai alliance was actually a real existence. And what's even more surprising is that the Shichibukai alliance has been completely established. Luluan shook her head with an expression of disbelief and said, "This matter is too shocking to me. Just the official establishment of the Shichibukai alliance is enough to drive a lot of people in this world into a frenzy. Now they actually have to gather in the kingdom of Kudora to help the Chris pirates attack the kingdom of Kudola together. Chris really changed the world today by himself." Halisha also shrugged her shoulders and smiled faintly. Anyway, this is indeed a good thing for our Chris pirates. Of all members of the Shichibukai alliance will definitely boost our morale. And these 7 people have joined forces, and the kingdom of Kudora has almost become the possession of our Chris pirates. Robin nodded, and then added, "It's not just beneficial to the war in the kingdom of Kudora. The gathering of the Shichibukai alliance in the kingdom of Kudora is also good news for our branch." Hearing this, Princess Vivi and the others looked at Robin with a slightly puzzled look. Robin said indifferently, "At that time, the entire world's attention will be placed there. This time, the kingdom of Kudora has truly become the focus of the world. I believe that there will not be a force that does not pay attention to this war." Having said this, Robin suddenly paused. A faint smile suddenly appeared on her face, and then she said, "This time is our good opportunity. While these people are not paying attention, our branch's plan can be carried out like lightning." Suddenly, in most of the seas in the first half of the Great Route, a blitz was fought. Almost no one can react. Princess Vivi suddenly realized and nodded. Chris and the others were fighting. It's a good time for us to expand our business abroad. When the various forces react, it's too late. Our hand has already reached into their territory. Marian casually sketched on the canvas. When the various forces react, the war in the kingdom of Kudora should be over. And when the time comes, facing the Chris pirates who defeated the kingdom of Kudora. If they want to do something with us, they have to take a good look at themselves. The phone, Bakura raised his eyebrows slightly and exclaimed, "Your ability to seize opportunities is really extraordinary. I never thought that the war with Kudora Kingdom would actually help the development of the branch indirectly." "That's fine, let's take a 2-pronged approach and let the Chris pirates take off completely." Hancock was also deeply moved in her heart, and she fully felt the keenness of Robin and others. Robin's strong insight and leadership skills can't help but make Hancock feel more stressed. She believes that under the leadership of Robin, the development of the Chris Pirates branch will one day amaze the whole world. Perona floated freely in the air and said with a smile, "The day after tomorrow we will launch a general attack. I think in a week at most, we can successfully win the kingdom of Kudora. At that time, our Chris Pirates will also have our own country." She said to the other end of the phone, "When the base in the new world is built, you can come over anytime, Robin. I miss you so much." Robin and the others all showed joy on their faces, and their expressions and eyes did not hide their longing. Nikita also said with a smile, I've always wanted to go to the headquarters. I know that I have joined a lot of new partners during this time. I heard that they are very interesting. I also want to get to know them. Sarah gently exhaled a few smoke rings, and said indifferently, after the things at hand on both sides of us are over, we can meet. Anyway, by then, everything should be on track. Even these new businesses on the branch side should not require us to keep an eye on them all the time. Robin told Baccarat, Baccarat, you must report this to Chris. If there is no problem, we will start working here. Baccarat smiled and nodded. You don't have to worry about this, I'll go right away. But I have to warn you, now we are cooperating with the Revolutionary Army. If you encounter the Revolutionary Army in the process of expanding your business, try not to have a conflict. Just tell them who the Chris Pirates are and they'll know what to do. Gentlemen, this is the last update today, and there will be 3 updates today. Clone is also 3 shifts, and Marco is a shift. Automatic subscription is still 233, come on, everyone. 415. Robin's analysis is eloquent and ready to build a business empire for Chris. The relationship with the Revolutionary Army, Baccarat believes, must be maintained. Even small fights between each other, try not to happen. And Baccarat believes that if the two sides meet, the Revolutionary Army will not intervene. Although there are many illegal activities in these businesses, in the end, they are all working hard for the ultimate goal. At this moment, the Alabasta Kingdom branch of the Chris Pirates has fallen into silence. Of Robin and Princess Vivi were quite wonderful. Their eyes were filled with surprise and joy, as well as doubt and emotion. Halcyon swallowed a mouthful of saliva unconsciously and said softly, we actually cooperated with the Revolutionary Army. This matter, I am afraid it is the news that really makes the world crazy. Everyone couldn't believe that Chris would choose to cooperate with the Revolutionary Army. Robin tried his best to calm down, took a deep breath and said, this news is really surprising. But I can understand it. Cooperating with the Revolutionary Army is indeed of great help to what Chris wants to do. I just didn't expect Chris to move so fast. Before the war with the Kingdom of Kutuola, the Revolutionary Army has already settled. Robin expected Chris's choice. She just didn't expect that things would develop so fast. Princess Vivi smacked her lips and said softly, but this way, it's not a bad thing. At least, we won't be obstructed by the Revolutionary Army when we expand our business here. And the Revolutionary Army is very powerful in the 4 seas, maybe it will help us in the future. In the beginning, everyone wanted to expand their business in the 4 seas, and the Revolutionary Army was one of the worries. But with the cooperation of the two sides, this worry and anxiety have also turned into joy at this moment. With the help of the Revolutionary Army, whether it is medical business or arms and other transactions, it can be laid out faster in the 4 seas. Sarah casually flicked the cigarette ash and chuckled, it seems that everything is developing in our favor. If the Revolutionary Army is willing to help us, it may not take that long to build the business empire of the Chris Pirates. I think we should discuss the next step as soon as possible now. Otherwise, if you miss such a good opportunity, it will be very difficult to meet again. Hearing this, Robin also nodded in agreement. She said, Baccarat, let's do this first. If there is anything in the future, I will contact you at any time. Our top priority now is to finally decide on the most detailed plan. Baccarat smiled gently and said generously, Chris' opinion, I will tell you as soon as possible. You just let it go, and the New World side won't have to worry about it. With Chris in charge, all problems will be solved. After speaking, both parties hung up the phone. Alabasta Kingdom Chris Pirates branch, in Robin's conference room. After Robin hung up the phone, he said bluntly, in the next period of time, everyone needs to be alert. Although our branch has absolute force, expanding business is not as simple as imagined. No matter which link goes wrong, our efforts may be in vain. Do you understand? Robin's eyes suddenly became sharp. She looked around and met everyone in the office. Vivi's expression also became serious, and she said, "We will listen to you, Robin. You can arrange a task for us directly." Marianne and others also nodded solemnly, and everyone was fully prepared. Robin looked at Sarah and said, "Sarah, you are in charge of the basic preparations. You have a lot of people under your command. Although they are not particularly powerful, they are a very important force when they gather together. You have to make reasonable use of the members of our division and divide them into three teams, which are responsible for the business of medical care, arms and casinos. Their main task is to participate in the construction of these three projects." Sarah snuffed out the cigarette butt in her hand, nodded and said, "No problem. I will select a few reliable persons in charge to ensure that there will be no mistakes." Robin looked at Mikita again, and said lightly, "Mikita is in charge of the tough task. The people under you are the mainstay of our branch, with a large number and good strength. You will cooperate with Sarah and the others, and if you encounter the obstruction of the local forces, take action directly without showing mercy." A hint of hockey in Robin's tone. This is the foundation of the Chris Pirates. Mikita still maintained a smile, nodded and said, "Just leave it to us. If there really are these ignorant guys, I will let them know that the Chris Pirates are not easy to mess with. Gentlemen, there are still 2 shifts in the morning, and 1 shift in the evening. Today is still 3 shifts. Clone is also 3 shifts, and Marco is a shift. Automatic subscription is 234. Come on again, everyone, please break through 235. 416. Princess Vivi takes over the task and uses her identity as a princess to help Chris expand his power. Robin's eyes turned to Marianne, who had put down her brush. She raised her eyebrows and said, "Marianne, your task may seem simple, but it is quite important. You are in charge of solving problems that neither Sarah nor Mikita can solve. The trouble the 2 of them can't solve must be some hard stubble. You have to continue recruiting strong newcomers during this time, to make sure there are no surprises." With a dull look on her face, Marianne said casually, "The new recruits under my command are all first-class masters. In the first half of this great route, there are very few people who can defeat them. And recently I've seen some other newcomers, and I am trying to win over. It shouldn't be a problem." Robin nodded very reassuringly, without raising any questions or comments. Robin is still very at ease with Marianne. Although Marianne is usually indifferent, she is never ambiguous at work. Most importantly, Marianne's special abilities are not just capable of affecting enemies. Same time, she can also use color to stimulate her own people and inspire them to be more powerful. The strength of ordinary powerhouses can be improved once again when they are under Marianne's hands. Princess Vivi looked at Robin and asked softly, "What do I need to do, Robin?" Seeing that the other 3 had their own tasks, Princess Vivi couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Robin glanced at Princess Vivi lightly, and there was a trace of solemnity in his eyes. She said directly, "Vivi, your mission is actually the most important. And this matter, only you can do it." Hearing this, not only Princess Vivi, but other people also felt a little puzzled. Vivi's clear water-like eyes, some puzzled colors flashed. She asked curiously, "What only I can do? Is it my princess status? This matter requires the cooperation of the citizens of Alabasta Kingdom." Robin shook his head and smiled, "It is indeed because of your princess status. But it's not about the Kingdom of Alabasta. What I need you to do is to negotiate with the rulers of other countries." Everyone was shocked by Vivi when he said this. Halisha murmured, "Are the people of the country negotiating the settlement? We opened the business directly, and they didn't dare to say anything. If you really want to negotiate, so many countries will take time and effort." Luluan also clicked, and Vivi frowned, "If you want to make good use of the Pudola Kingdom War. It's still best for us to have a blitzkrieg. If we negotiate, is this really necessary? Everyone looked at Robin, waiting for her explanation. Robin also said directly, although we are strong, we don't need to care about the feelings of other countries. But strength is just a deterrent, we can't fight with these. All countries, war. Let's not say whether we have the capital to go to war with all countries, we can't afford to waste time alone. As long as one country resists us, other countries may follow suit. Robin's words directly woke up Princess Vivi and others. Before, they were all immersed in the powerful strength of the branch and the powerful deterrence of Chris. Instead, it ignores such a simple question. Although the current branch is powerful, it is still far from being able to cover the sky with one hand. If all the countries unite against the branch, they will not be able to bear it. Robin continued, of course, the principles of Blitz do not change. So we don't want to negotiate with all the countries and forces, just pick 5 or 6 of them, and that's it. Vivi was somewhat enlightened. You mean to unite the surrounding powerful countries and powerful forces? If several of our strong families unite, even if others want to resist, they will not have the strength and courage. Robin smiled lightly and said, that's what it means. So I need you to negotiate secretly with several other powerful countries in this sea area. We can pay them some money, as well as shelter for the Chris pirates. With the face of the Princess of Alabasta Kingdom, there should be no problem. Alabasta Kingdom has been occupied by Crocodile over the years, its prestige still exists. How they say it is also one of the founding countries of the world government. They have a great influence in this sea area and even in the nearby sea areas. That's why Robin said that only Princess Vivi can do this. Her status as a princess is still very important. Vivi smiled confidently and said, our royal family still has some friendship with the surrounding powerful countries. With the background of the Chris pirates, they wouldn't disagree. Guys, this is the second update, and the next one is the evening. Automatic subscription is still $23. I hope to have another one in the evening, please everyone. Philo reminds you, 3 things about reading. 417. The dialogue is over. Robin and Princess Vivi start to implement the plan, and help Chris with all their strength. For this task that Robin explained, Princess Vivi has considerable self-confidence. The Alabasta royal family, as one of the founders of the world government, even now voluntarily withdraws from the ranks of Tenryubito. They still have considerable influence in all walks of life around the world. Especially in the sea area where they are now, many other countries have accepted their help. Vivi said indifferently, I will leave now to lobby these powerful countries. Should be able to guarantee that at least 444 countries will be persuaded before the day after tomorrow, before Chris and the others officially go to war. Robin nodded lightly and said expressionlessly, this matter must be kept strictly confidential. The premise of our blitzkrieg is that no one else knows our plans. Once lobbying fails, immediately contact us. Robin's eyes flashed a trace of killing intent, and said coldly, Marion will cooperate with you at any time to assassinate. This time, we are determined not to be soft-hearted. Princess Vivi also froze, feeling a chill in the air. She immediately showed a firm look and nodded heavily. Today's Princess Vivi is no longer the cowardly little girl she used to be. Vivi has matured a lot and her heart has become stronger. The most important thing is that now Princess Vivi can do anything for Chris' career development. Whether it's arms deals, casinos, or assassinations of enemies. He no longer rejects these things. Mary Ann paused in the air with a paintbrush in her hand, and said, I will send the 2 people I am most optimistic about to go with Princess Vivi. With the 2 of them around, even if they were killed on the spot, there would be no problem. This can, to a large extent, ensure that information is not leaked. Sarah lit another cigarette at some unknown time in her hand. She took a light puff on the cigarette and said lightly, you don't have to be so nervous. Assassination is just a worst-case scenario. I believe the conditions we gave are enough to impress this person. They don't dare to offend the Aradan royal family at the same time, and the Chris pirates who are now red. Robin also agreed, and the expression on his face softened a lot. She told Princess Vivi again, "Don't kill the rulers of these countries unless you have to. It can be coerced or enticed. As long as I can win over, I don't care about paying more in return." Robin suddenly paused, then sneered, "As long as the other party is not too greedy." The person Robin hated the most in his life was a person who was not greedy enough. If you are as powerful as Chris, greed doesn't matter at all. After all, with Chris' strength, he can easily get anything. But if you are not strong enough, but you want to blackmail the strong, this is the rhythm of courting death. Robin paused, then continued, "There is one more thing I want to tell everyone. The news of the cooperation between our Chris pirates and the Revolutionary Army must not be leaked. This matter is now, it belongs to the top secret of the entire Chris pirates. Once it leaks out, it will definitely disrupt Chris and their plans. What the consequences will be, I don't need to say more." Robin's eyes swept over everyone in the office, full of warning. Vivi and others also understand that this is a big move by Chris, and there is no room for mistakes. If he can't keep his mouth shut, Chris won't show mercy. Vivi smiled lightly, and said, "This kind of shocking secret, we should let it rot in our stomach. As long as Chris doesn't announce it, we won't say it." With a smile on her face, Nikita laughed and said, "We won't do that stupid thing. Since joining the Chris pirates, we will never betray Chris. Follow Chris, and you will definitely be famous all over the world. I don't think everyone is stupid enough to betray Chris at this time." Sarah let out a breath of smoke and said coldly, "We're very good at keeping secrets or something. Since Baccarat dared to tell us, it means that Chris and them both trust us. No matter how you say it, you can't betray the trust of Chris and the others." As for Luluan and the others, they also nodded cautiously. Confidentiality is something that Robin emphasizes, and it is also a necessary condition to become Robin's assistant. Luluan knew very well how Robin would treat those who leaked secrets. Seeing everyone expressing their own opinions, Robin nodded, very satisfied. Was still very reassured of these people present. Robin let out a long breath and said, "Then now, everyone can start acting. Everyone, this is the third update, today's update, and it ends here. The clone has been updated 3 times, and Marco will update it later. Automatic subscription is still $2.34, come on, I hope that when the update tomorrow morning, I can break through, I beg." 418. Reiju, Nami and others all think EPUB is powerful. A sonic attack, terrifying. Pudora Kingdom C, Chris. Baccarat hung up the phone. He said directly, "I need to inform Chris of Robin's plans as soon as possible. As long as Chris has no opinion, Robin and the others will be able to let go and do it." After speaking, Baccarat got up and walked towards Chris. Nami looked at Baccarat's back and said with a smile, "Chris will definitely not object. The plans of Robin and the others this time are so helpful to us to overthrow Tenryubito's rule. It is absolutely impossible to overthrow such a huge world government without sufficient financial support." Betty flicked the ash and nodded. Not only that, the Shichibukai Alliance and the Revolutionary Army both need a lot of money to maintain. If the Alabasta Kingdom branch can succeed, our pressure will be much less. Otherwise it's too slow to rely on us to raise funds and resources in the new world. Perona was flying around in the air and said with a smile, "It is thanks to Robin and the others that the branch has grown to what it is today. What they are doing now is prosperous, which makes people envious." Hancock's beautiful face, Vivi smiled. No one else would have imagined that the branch of the Chris pirates would be so powerful. No one could have imagined that the Chris pirates fought in the New World War Pudora Kingdom. At the same time, the branch of the Chris pirates is quietly establishing its own business network. After this battle, everyone will be surprised by this. Hancock can't help but be amazed when he thinks about it carefully now. Robin and the others' plans are simply admirable. Marigold also chuckled and said, "This trick is to build the plank road in the clear and dark in the warehouse. It's really ingenious. The world government would never have imagined that the Criss pirates would have such a hand. If they knew, they would definitely not support the Criss pirates in this war." Bonnie clicked his tongue twice and sneered. He is afraid of Criss and the Criss pirates, the more uncomfortable he is. On the surface, it is to weaken the Criss pirates by attacking the kingdom of Kudora, which is not an idea. Indirectly help the Criss pirates find another way. I'm looking forward to what the Sengoku and Gorosei, 5 elders who know the truth, will look like after the end. Everyone is very clear in their hearts that the world government supports the Criss pirates on the surface, but it is actually suppressing it. But now Robin's plan can completely make the world government steal the chicken without losing the rice. Thinking of this, Nami and others felt a sense of relief. Alvida picked up a glass of red wine and said, "Next, Apu and the others will finally arrive. I'm still very curious about his strength. Can he stand out among the squad leaders?" Margaret pondered and said, "I've heard about this Apu, he's a good newcomer. But if you want to be on par with Captain Ban and the others, you probably haven't reached that level yet." Bonnie shrugged and said, "I've had a relationship with this Apu, but never fought. But I can feel that his strength is stronger than mine. If I fight him, the odds of winning are very small." Hearing Bonnie say this, everyone was a little surprised by Vivi. After all, Bonnie's strength, Hancock and others are also very clear. In the entire 9 snake pirates, she is among the best. Even she feels that there is no chance of winning, then the strength of this Apu is still worth looking forward to. Reiju sat on the side gracefully, and said generously, "But no matter how powerful this Apu is, he is still a newcomer here, that's all. Facing our squad leaders, his strength is definitely not enough. Staying by Criss's side, the things you can learn are far from wild." Nami nodded in approval and said, "Only Haki's cultivation, Apu doesn't have such a unique environment. With Criss by his side, Haki can make a lot of progress with just the slightest hints from him. No matter how high Apu's talent is, Haki's experience in cultivation is definitely incomparable to Criss's. Although Criss basically stayed in the training room to practice on weekdays, he occasionally appeared outside. He will give some pointers to the squad leaders and help them to cultivate better. Burgess, Cavendish and others can improve so quickly, which has a lot to do with Criss's guidance." Karina smiled lightly, and said casually, "These are not important, as long as Apu can help this time." Afterwards, he had the opportunity to be pointed by Criss. "Are you afraid that he will not be able to improve?" On the other side of the training room, Bakura has come to Criss. "Gentlemen, there are still 2 shifts in the morning, this is the first shift, and there is another shift later. The clone is updated in the morning, and Marco is updated in the evening. Automatically subscribe to 233, drop another 1, get drunk, cry, and 419. Momoshige called, urgent notice. Borsellino will go all out to kill Criss. Criss, in the training room. Criss is practicing as usual." Bakura walked slowly to him and said softly, "Criss, Robin just called. They are now going to expand their business on the branch side to get more money. Robin's plan is to develop a medical career, arms trade, and a casino-based entertainment center in the first half of the Great Route." Criss was still waving blood red, but asked lightly, "What else?" Bakura then replied, "They are going to start from a few nearby sea areas and gradually expand to the first half of the entire Great Route. In addition, they also hope that the business can expand to the 4 seas, and finally establish a business empire belonging to our Criss pirates." Hearing this, Criss Vivi raised his eyebrows, and there was a smile on the corner of his mouth. He nodded and said casually, "Robin and the others still have some ideas. Also, now is an excellent opportunity. Let Robin and the others let go and do it. Chris chuckled and said, tell Robin, don't have any concerns. No matter what. Anything happens, I will give her the bottom line. Hearing Chris' confident promise, Baccarat also showed a gentle smile. She looked at Chris's eyes with her own reverence. To have such a man behind you, you will feel at ease no matter what you do. Baccarat then added, Robin also said that EPUB and the others had some troubles along the way, which have now been resolved. If nothing else happens, you can join us tomorrow. In response, Chris just nodded casually. He said lightly, it's good to come. As before, send someone to respond to prevent it from being intercepted by Marine. Chris is now not only guarding the kingdom of Kudora, but more importantly, guarding Marine. He never trusted Marine who came to help. Among these people, Onagumo Vice Admiral is the #1 person to spend the festival with. There are also Momonga Vice Admiral or something, who is also the representative of Eagle, so you have to be careful about them. If these people find any reason at random to intercept EPUB and others, it will be some trouble. Baccarat nodded quickly, turned to leave, and went down to arrange the next thing. At 10:30 in the evening, the Chris training room. In the training room at this time, only Chris was left to practice. Nami, Hancock and the others all returned to their rooms, ready to rest. Bumble, 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 bumble. At this moment, a phone bug on Chris suddenly rang. Chris immediately stopped his own practice, because this phone bug is the one that specifically communicates with Momoshiki. Chris, eyes narrowed at Vivi, and then he walked out of the training room with the phone bug. He jumped lightly and came to the empty sky. Now is the critical moment for the battle with Kudora Kingdom. Both Kudora Kingdom and Marine are very concerned about Chris's movements. So even Chris, he can't guarantee that there is no enemy eyeliner around him. In order to ensure the safety of the call, he can only choose to stay away from everyone. Chris looked at the phone bug and Vivi frowned. Momoshiki must know her current situation, but she still chose to call at this time. So Chris immediately decided that something happened on Marine's side. Let Momoshiki have no choice but to inform himself at this time. Chris answered the phone bug and said lightly, Momoshiki, what happened? Anything new at Marine? Momoshiki at this time was also in an empty midair. After she heard Chris' familiar voice, she immediately said, Chris, I have an emergency here. Marine headquarters just recently held an internal meeting to discuss whether to dispose of you and the entire Chris pirates. In the meeting, the Marine generals supported the complete removal of you. Hearing this, Chris narrowed his eyes and sneered. I expected that such a day would come sooner or later. I just didn't expect that Sengoku and the others would be so impatient. Momoshiki looked solemn and said solemnly, I got the latest news that the Gorosei 5 elders have agreed with Sengoku's decision. They have now completely made up their minds to get rid of you and the entire Chris pirates, leaving no one behind. This is the news I got from the Crane staff. There is absolutely no mistake. Momoshiki has a good relationship with Staff Crane, so she can often get first-hand information from Staff Crane. Now the news that the Gorosei 5 elders agreed to kill Chris is only known to very few people. Sengoku, they didn't hype it up. Momoshiki then said, Staff Crane said that Sengoku has called Borsellino Admiral. This time, it is Borsellino who is commanding the front line. Gentlemen, this is the second update, and there will be another update later. The avatar is also 3 changes today, and the automatic subscription is now 234. I hope to break through 235 today, please everyone. 420. Borsellino, the salary is in place, the 4 emperors are dead. We'll definitely go all out to win Chris. Borsellino. After hearing this name, Chris suddenly felt that this matter became interesting. He didn't know for a while whether Sengoku and the Gorosei 5 elders and others wanted to get rid of him or not. Let Borsellino kill him, this is just kidding. Momoshiki Vice Admiral looked solemn and said softly. Staff Crane says that Borsellino has accepted the assignment. I believe that he is now preparing how to deal with you. Chris couldn't help but sneered, shook his head and said, Borsellino is notoriously inattentive, and the Marine headquarters is the best admiral for paddling. Leave this task to him. What exactly did Sengoku think? Could it be that they really thought that Borsellino would do everything in his power to kill me? Momoshiki Vice Admiral Vivi frowned and sighed softly. At first, I thought the same as you. When Staff Crane told me that Sengoku ordered Borsellino to carry out the clearing mission, I was also very puzzled and surprised. The Borsellino I know generally avoids this kind of thing. There is no reason to take the initiative to post it. I found out later that it was Sengoku who offered Borsellino a very generous offer. Hearing this, Chris also raised his eyebrows and raised some interest. He asked with great interest, then I would like to know how much my Chris is worth at Sengoku. Borsellino is a guy who seems to be indifferent to the world and has no preferences. What kind of conditions can impress him? In Chris's impression, Borsellino is a very special person. He treats his tasks mainly according to his mood. A good mood, and resolutely complete your tasks, the state of the whole person is serious and terrible. But when he's in a bad mood, he immediately turn on your paddling state and treat the task negatively. Even if he can destroy the enemy by raising his hand, he will deliberately let the enemy go. Not to mention let him use his full strength. When he left, Chris really didn't understand what the Borsellino family was thinking. He was also curious as to what made Borsellino recklessly become his enemy. Momoshiki Vice Admiral squinted his eyes and said, what Admiral Crane said was only vague and without precise conditions. But according to her description, Sengoku gave Borsellino a huge bonus payment. The amount of this prize is said to have never appeared before. After Chris listened, immediately let out an odd laugh. He murmured, Sengoku's conditions are definitely not that simple. It's almost impossible to impress this guy Borsellino with just a huge bonus. You have been with Borsellino for so long. You know better than me whether he is a greedy man. Momoshiki Vice Admiral finally smiled faintly at this time, and his mood was not as heavy as it started. She shook her head with a smile, and said, Borsellino is indeed not a greedy person. When the world government delays the payment of wages on weekdays, he never shows any anxiety. So for this condition, I myself don't believe it. Momoshiki Vice Admiral paused deliberately, then slowly said, fortunately, Staff Officer Crane is relatively close to me. So she told me more about the situation. Chris Vivi shrugged and asked indifferently, it seems that Staff Officer Crane has a lot of trust in you. Let's talk. What kind of conditions did Sengoku offer that eventually attracted Borsellino? Anyway, it's not the temptation of an official position. Borsellino should not eat this set. Momoshiki couldn't help sighing inwardly. Chris knows too much about the internal situation of Marine. At times, Momoshiki Vice Admiral suspected that Chris had been at the Marine headquarters for a long time. Otherwise, how could he know so clearly about the methods and temperaments of Marine's various admiral leaders? It has always been a mystery in Momoshiki Vice Admiral's mind. But since Chris didn't say it, Momoshiki Vice Admiral has no interest in exploring the answer. She respects Chris' secret. Momoshiki Vice Admiral looked around vigilantly from time to time to make sure no one was eavesdropping. She said indifferently, it's really not such an old-fashioned way to seduce the official position. What eventually attracted Borsellino and changed his mind was a 2-year sabbatical. This is the deadliest condition Sengoku gave to Borsellino. Chris murmurs, 2 years off. Momoshiki immediately explained, that is to say, after this mission is over. Borsellino can do it right away. Vacation. Everyone, today is still 3 updates, and will continue to update later. 2 to 3 shifts in the clone. Marco should be able to shift 2 shifts depending on the situation. Automatic subscription is still 234. I am too embarrassed to speak. Everyone, Let us get another one. I am crying.